Venator is a new gun carry priest character added to Deadlock in the Old Gods New Blood update. He uses 2 different guns and a crossbow to stun, debuff and deal massive collateral damage to the enemies. Here's the full ability breakdown, his best items and more. Let's get into it. Venator is finally out as the 4th character in the new update, and the dads of the world have won. This is a raw gun carry character. And spoilers, a lot of his abilities will scale with gun damage. He's the first character in the game that has multiple abilities that scale with gun damage. He seems very sick from first impressions, but I'll get right into it. He auto-fires, has very high velocity. It's going to be very easy for you to hit targets on long range. There's like basically, yeah, you basically treat this as a hit scan gun. I think this is the bullet velocity. Seems a tiny bit slower than Wraith, but it really reminds me of the Wraith gun, especially the fire rate. A lot of bullets in the mag early on, and all his abilities are gonna revolve around his gun, okay? Ability number 1 is called Consecrating Grenade. Consecrating Grenade fires a nade, and it can bounce off walls. And when it hits the enemy, it burns them, it reduces their healing, and it does pure damage in the to enemies in the area. What pure damage means is a new term that they've introduced for this character in specific. It does pure damage, as the name says. Basically means that stuff like resistances will not matter. Stuff like metal skin will not matter. And you will do a maximum amount of damage, no matter how tanky the hero is. Which means naturally, this hero will be very good against tanks that build a lot of resistances. So, upgrades, cooldown reduction. This is gonna be very good in lane, I can tell you. Like, this ability, I'll show it in a second, is pretty easy to hit. Even on long distance, you can hit direct hits, and then it's gonna create a burning area around the target. And yeah, it's very forgiving, and it's a very fast projectile. You can hit this very consistently. It really reminds me of Soldier 76's rockets from Overwatch. And if you level this up, again, cooldown reduction, more explosion radius and burn radius. And on max level, it gets charges. So you can go even more healing reduction and allow for charges. Which is gonna be something I'm gonna experiment around. But first impression, this is not gonna be something you max first. Simply because you want a lot of gun damage on this character. Because again, most abilities in this kit scale with gun. And for charges, you would have to buy something like Rapid Recharge, right? So I would say 1 point early, maybe 2, but I'll stick with 1 for now. Gutshot is the second ability where he uses his shotgun, and it works very much like Coach Gun from Ash, where if you boop enemies away from you.
You'll never stop me.
And that's it. But if you boop them into a wall with this ability, they will get stunned, okay? Upgrades, increase damage, lower cooldown, increase ability range, and on max level, the wall stun is gonna make your next melee be blessed. And blessed, again, is a term for true damage, okay? So you can boop them into the wall, and if they're stunned, your next melee, and they will be stunned, so they won't be able to parry, your next heavy melee will do a lot of damage. And if you guys don't know, if you're new to Deadlock, melee damage scales directly with gun damage, so weaving in melee items on this character is gonna be very, very, very good. Ability number 3 is Hex-Lined Snap Trap. This is basically a bear trap, and it does exactly what it sounds like. It will trap the enemies if they step over it. It takes a second to arm. And again, the upgrade, first level, cooldown reduction, immobilize duration, and then the max level is going to increase your damage to the target by 20%. Something very close to Warden Cage. But this ability, if you hit the 2, you can set this up right away and guarantee a stun. So this is what it would look like. It takes a second to arm, and if anyone steps into this radius, they get trapped, but you can combo this. So you would stun the enemy into a wall, and then put down a trap right next to them. And fun fact, it is actually quite hard to hit for whatever reason, because it bounces off walls, but you can stun them into a wall, then set up the trap, and this is really hard to hit. But if you do it correctly, which is, as you can see, it will take some time, you can get a combo off where they will get trapped. Like this. And the radius is kind of forgiving, right? It seems like pretty simple to set up. So like you kind of slide it like a hockey is almost what it feels like. This is the crazy shit. This is the coolest ult, I think, of any of the new characters. So, it's called Ira Domini. It loads a crossbow on your back with 3 stakes. And they deal massively increased weapon damage. And the final stake is blessed again. It's gonna do true damage. And pure damage, and will execute enemies on low health, and the execute threshold is 8%. If you upgrade this, on level 1, you get more movement speed. On level 2, it reduces the cooldown a bit and does more damage. And on level 3, all stakes are blessed, okay? So that means every stake will do pure damage, and every stake will execute. Blessed is a term for it executes on low HP, and it does pure damage. So this is what this looks like. Now, if you thought that was crazy, this gun can headshot. So you can do massively increased damage hitting heads. But not only does it do headshot damage, it also pierces.
A Venator will not be denied.
And that's his kit. It's pretty straightforward. As you noticed, 3 of his abilities only scale with gun damage. The only ability that scales with Spirit is Hex-Lined Snap Trap. So you would think you wouldn't want to build any Spirit at all, but that is actually incorrect because the character also has innate Spirit scaling on resists. Okay, so both bullet resist and Spirit resist scale the more Spirit you have. So hybrid items like Surge of Power might actually be very good, or something like Rapid Recharge, where you get a bit of Spirit, you get your 4.8k Spirit spike later down the line, and you will still do, you know, really good damage. It would still synergize with the kit, but you will also massively increase your resistances without having to buy a lot of green items. But I can tell you before all of this, this character has to build a lot of orange items. There's no way you will build no orange items on this character, just because all the abilities, again, get better with gun. And if we look at the default build, it seems pretty straightforward. There is some troll picks in here. For example, Titanic Mag, I can tell you, will not be bought. We all know the OP gun items if you want to build gun. Number 1 item that you will always build is going to be Fleetfoot, because Fleetfoot is going to allow you to shoot while not having movement slow, okay? This character, again, will be very useful in long range, and the damage fall-off seems quite minimal for an auto-fire gun. Right here, I'm like 30 meters away, and I still do a lot of gun damage. So I don't think you will pivot into something like Point Blank or Sharpshooter either way. It's going to be like a mid-range character, and you will play around walls and kind of bait the enemy into you, right? The 2, Gutshot, is not going to be an offensive tool. It's going to be the enemy dives you, and then you just boop them into a wall, right, when they're close, and punish them that way. So you will hold corners strategically on this character and play corners to get stuns off and shoot them from afar. And once the enemy gets close, you punish them with a trap, right? Like you area denial a trap, or you stun them. The 1, again, it's just going to be an harassment tool, which especially is going to work great against anything that heals, right? Because like on max level, 50% healing reduction is going to be absolutely crazy. So how would I skill this character? First impressions, you definitely get 1 point in nades just for the cooldown. So you have a 20-second cooldown on this. And Gutshot, again, I mean, it's going to increase the damage, and it has a ×1 scaling. So I would get 1 point in this just for value. And then probably 1 point in the trap as well, because it is going from a 30-second cooldown to an 18-second cooldown, so it almost cuts the cooldown in half. I think there's going to be multiple ways to play the character. You could go the melee route and go Gutshot, but if you want to play a straight gun carry character, I want to say you will probably max the ultimate first, just to run around and have lower cooldowns with it. And then every time you have ult, you go for kills, right? You go for executes. So I would probably max the ult first. Probably level up the nade, because the nade has the highest scaling of guns still, right? In fact, the damage per second on the burn, by the way, scales with his level. So the more money he gets, the higher level, the more boons he gets, the stronger Consecrating Grenade. So on base level, right, it is 10, and if you're max level, it's going to be 37. Okay, and then so I would probably max the grenade second, and it will, again, we'll have to see if it's worth it getting something like rapid recharge, but probably an extra charge just to have 1 extra nade. Genuinely will build damage, and I think fire rate is great on gun carries. So something like active reload or something like quicksilver reload on the 1 might be worth it. It's probably going to be active reload because the cooldown on the nades is 20 seconds even on max level. Like, none of the abilities are fast enough to do quicksilver, so it's probably going to be active reload, Fleetfoot, and then I want to say something like intensifying magazine, right? Again, I will post a build and link it in the video description below, the ID, but if I were to build this character right now, it would probably look something like this at 10k. Let me just figure this out real quick. Yeah, also build-ups on this character seem very strong. Both Toxic Bullets and Inhibitor proc insanely fast on this character. So this is probably what a build on this character would look like roughly at 35k. Again, gonna be game dependent. I'm gonna optimize this and keep the build updated. But first impressions, insane gun carry, buy gun items on this character, play cover, play close to any objectives. So if the enemy jumps you, you can just boop them into you or force them into your trap and get kills that way. Again, build ID is gonna be linked in the description, and I'll update this. Okay, Junk, get to work.
Metro finally got his patch. Now he's gonna run it back.